originals back in the 70s sometime. And it was to just coordinate the homeowners associations in Westlake Village and Thousand Oaks, in the Westlake portion of both cities. The whole city of Thousand Oaks is part of the Westlake Joint Board, and then there's a part of Thousand Oaks that is. It's on this in the Westlake area. And we just collaborate and talk and share ideas and share problems and share stories. And we've, as I say, it started in the 70s when both cities were very, very new. And it's continued, and it's still going strong today. So what we do, we meet every other month. We have 44 associations that include both cities. And we meet on January every other month and discuss problems of common interest and concerns. And we very often have speakers come. We've had people come and talk about artificial turf. We've had people come from the developers in the area when they're planning. Dan Selleck came when he was planning the project, the old Lowe's project, which is now going to be a Target. We had the Home Depot people here. Everybody, the Thousand Oaks Boulevard folks came. We're also very, very fortunate to have a council person from each city here at each meeting. And it's a great way for you guys to, and the meetings are open to the public. I wish we'd have more people because it's such a great way to interact with your council members. And if you have any problems or situations or questions or anything, they're right there to answer them, and they're great about getting back to you and taking care of whatever it is you have a question about. So that's something that we really enjoy. So, and then we sponsor this Candidates Night each year. This year it's Thousand Oaks. Next year it's Westlake Village. So it works out well that we can do it. We've been doing it for, I don't know how many years. Rickie, you know, 25?
Yes.
So, and it's well received. We're easy. We're not, this is just an easy group, and we hope everybody has a good time and enjoys themselves. So, without further ado, I think we will get started. And the candidates each drew a number rather, for when they would speak. And then they also drew a number for when they would have a summation. So each candidate gets 5 minutes to speak, talk about himself or herself, and then they get 3 minutes to answer questions from the audience. And we would ask people from the audience. I think Rickie's going to read that, but we ask you to stand and we don't have a microphone here, so speak out about your questions. And the candidates will probably hang around after. If you have questions, you want to talk to them, you have any issues that you want to discuss with them, I wrote in the letter that they said they would be happy to stay after the meeting. So anyway, help yourself to coffee and cookies as you wish, and I'll let Rickie kind of read the ground rules for you.
Welcome to our candidates forum. Thank you for coming. This year, given the large number of candidates, each will be given a total of 5 minutes to speak about his or her qualifications, experience, platform, etc., and 3 minutes to answer a question or two from the floor. After all candidates have spoken, each candidate will have an opportunity to give a 1-minute summation. A board member sitting in the back of the room will raise a yellow card to let the candidate know when there is only 1 minute left to speak. She will raise a red card when the 5 minutes are up. The candidates each drew a number from a hat to determine the order. During the question section, please raise your hand if you have a question for the candidate who has just spoken. We will acknowledge which member of the audience will ask a question, and we ask that the questioner please stand up, give your name so everyone can hear the question. Please keep your questions brief. In fairness to all those who have questions, only 1 question per person will be allowed, with no follow-up questions, unless there are no other hands raised and time has not run out. Inappropriate questions or personal attacks will not be allowed. Candidates may not ask questions of other candidates, as this is not a debate. The candidates will stay to chat with members after the meeting and answer additional questions. And enjoy the meeting.
Before we get started, I have water for the candidates, and there's actually Rickie coming out there for everybody else if you're water. I don't bring that much, but sometimes you candidates can't get out there. So, come on in. So we'll get started. Judy Bacchus is in the back. Judy, do you want to wave your timer around? Okay, she's the timer. We all know how that is in City Hall. So Judy will raise, I know you do. She'll raise a yellow card when you have 1 minute left to speak so that you kind of know that it's time to sort of wrap up. And she'll put the red card up when your 5 minutes is up. And then she'll do the same with the 3 minutes for the questions. And then the summation comes after. After everybody gets a chance to speak, then you'll get a chance to, everybody will get a chance to come back and say a last few words. So, any questions? Okay, our first speaker.
First one will be Jim Bruno.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
Wow. As I look around, I see so many old friends. Some of you, Scott Duell, 30 years. Nick Quidwai, been making me crazy for 25 years. Lots and lots of old faces. Guys, you know my heart. You know my background, and I trust that you know me for what I've done and what I've tried to accomplish in serving the community, both from the standpoint of, involvement with the city, the service groups, the nonprofits, the faith-based community, all the things that I've done. You kind of know about that, so I'm really going to kind of rest that on the table, knowing that, feeling confident, like I said, that you know my heart. And I'm going to just direct a few comments actually to the candidates, because we're getting to the point where this has been going on for a few weeks. It's hot. It's really hot when you're out walking. And not all the dogs like us when we knock on the door. So, Nick is laughing. I knocked on a door a few doors down from him, and there was a young lady that was so proud of the fact that she was Italian, she recognized that I probably was Italian too. And she proceeded to insist on talking to me in Italian for 5 minutes. So I go, I agree, I understand. Okay, and then I had occasion to knock on a few doors with some folks that were very mature. And the first one, I don't want any. And I said, okay, well, I'm Jim Bruno, I'm running for the city council. Next one, get out of here. I don't want to talk to you. Okay, and then the third one, and this is something all of you guys can relate to, I'm sure you can relate to it, is, and the dogs come. The big dogs, the little dogs that make more noise than the big dogs, and you feel like they're going to go right through the door at your throat. So it's not all fun and games out there for sure. It's hard work, and I certainly commend each and every one of you for that effort, because it's tough. It's tough. As a matter of fact, I wanted to just share a little talk that Roosevelt gave in Sorbonne quite a number of years ago. Actually, it was in 1910. And the title was Citizen in the Republic. So here again, I'm talking to you candidates, us candidates. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, but where the doer of deeds would have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, and strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Guys, there's only room in the end for two of us, unfortunately. So those of us that don't make it through the narrow door, just know that, we fought the gallant fight, and it's not, like I said, it's not fun out there. It's hard work. But I commend you as colleagues for your effort, your heart to serve the city, and it can never be wrong. I know most of you guys that are running, and I know you all have a heart to serve, otherwise you wouldn't be doing it. because the sacrifice and the cost of what we're doing is great. So I commend you, and you know, and I'm going to yield my time for some of the other candidates, and hopefully come back and answer some questions. God bless you, and thank you. Questions now. Okay, good.
Questions now, 3 minutes.
Cathy or Joe will answer who
Yeah, if you will, raise your hand, and please stand up and repeat the question, because people can't hear it. I'll call this lady here. She's a Western.
Yes, Helen Volkman, Village Green. I'd like to ask you why you running. You didn't say anything about your qualifications or what you expect to accomplish.
Okay, thank you for saying that. You know, quite honestly, well, she's asking why I'm running. You know, we have a website, we've got our material, with my positions on various subjects in my background. I didn't want to take the group's time in 2 minutes to talk about 30 years of service. Simply stated, I'm running because I love to serve and I love to solve challenges and problems. And I feel like, you know, I've been able to do quite a lot of things. I've done the Planning Commission, I chaired the Campaign Reform Ethics Commission. I've just done a lot of things in the city. And, you know, I was a part of the founding Boys and Girls Club, started the Westlake Braves, the Westlake High, essentially funded the stadium. So, you know, I've done a lot of things which you can kind of, you know, see online or look at our material. I'm just plain old Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, we have time for another question? Yeah, there's someone over here.
Yeah. Now, this may be redundant to the other question. I don't know your heart. I don't know you. So maybe other people all know you and know the things you've done, but I sure would like to hear some of the things that you have really done in the past and what have you been? So, yeah, help me out here a little. Okay?
Sure. No, I'd be happy to address that. In its, you know, would be somewhat redundant, but you know, as I mentioned, I've been here since the late 70s. My office is in Westlake. I've lived here, you know, in Westlake for a long time. Chaired the Planning Commission. Wow. Community Budget Task Force, where we got in and wrestled with various budgetary aspects of the city. I've been on the Investment Review Committee, making advisement to the city treasurer on how to optimize the portfolio. I mentioned the Planning Commission. In the 5 years I was on the Planning Commission, I don't know how many, you know, hearings we held, but it was quite a few. Wow, like I said, there's probably 15 or 16 other committees that or commissions. I was on the Franchise Advisory Commission. I see Larry and Betty Horner back there. In the Alex Fiore days, Alex appointed me to the Franchise Advisory Commission, and in those days we heard and analyzed the utility rates, the trash hauler rates, and those sort of things, and we made recommendations to the council on what sort of raises were appropriate. So I you know, in summation, because I know we're close on time, I don't really think there's one division or department of the city that I haven't been involved either directly or indirectly over the last 30 years. My time is up.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm sorry it's such a short time period, but we have 9 candidates, and I didn't want to keep you here till midnight, so we'll do the best we can, but you're certainly welcome to talk to the candidates afterwards. So,
Number 2 is Nick Farris.
Hi everyone, my name is Mick Farris, and figured we have 5 minutes. And usually they give you these short little things that you got to kind of run through and get everything in. So I figured I'd just try to tell you a little bit about the story of how I even got to Thousand Oaks. I lived in small towns in the Midwest, Illinois and Wisconsin, and maybe 2,900 people. And one of the things that they say is a good part about living in a small town, everybody knows who you are and what you're doing. And what's bad about a small town is everybody knows who you are and what you're doing. So I kind of wanted to get out, One of the things that I wanted to see a city is that they've got all the amenities, they've got great cable TV and movies and grocery stores and things like that. But you want to make sure that it's a community that also has that small town feel. So I went to college. Eventually, I came out to UCLA. I went to graduate school, studied space physics, and eventually got my degree. I met my wonderful wife, Stephanie, who makes me a better person every day. Eventually, I'll get to be a good person with your help. But when we were deciding to get married and where we wanted to live, we were in the middle of Los Angeles, and you probably drive for 2 hours in each direction, you can't get out of the greater LA area. And a friend of mine ended up saying, you know something, you ought to go out to Ventura County, some great places out there, take a look at it and see what you like. We drove out to Thousand Oaks, and we fell in love with it. And so we eventually moved there. The first place we lived was the Knolls apartment complex, back when it was only the Knolls in Westlake Canyon. Saw Lane Ranch before all the houses were built. You drive down Westlake Boulevard and you just saw that expansive open space. It's fantastic. We actually lived here before they started building the Civic Arts Plaza. It was already approved, but it hadn't been built yet. And so we got to see Thousand Oaks, not from its infancy, but at a point where it's in its growing stage. And you want it to still be that town that has all the amenities, but still has a small town feel. And so eventually I started getting involved with public service to make sure that the town that I decided to call my home would still maintain that feel. I ended up working in the Valley. I oversee a group of about 35 PhDs in mathematics and computer science and engineering, and we support the defense and intelligence communities to keep country and the world safe. And these are some of the smartest people that I've been around and are real, in some ways patriots for what they're doing for the country. But you end up wanting to do more for your community as well. And so I've been involved on the Planning Commission and served. I was first appointed in 1999, was reappointed in 2003, and now I'm on the Planning Commission again, appointed in 2011. And it's an opportunity to really get involved with the decision making and making sure that the city stays a livable community. You want to balance all of the things of the aspects of growth, but you want to make sure that the city and its government are responsive to the people that put them there. Your elected officials, they represent you, and they need to be brokers for you on what's going on in the city and what's in the best interest of the community. And so when it comes to city council decisions, there are some that are really easy. They're all 5-0 and everybody's happy. And there are some that are really easy and everybody on the council is opposed. It's the times where there's disagreements. Those are the hard ones. And those are the times in which you get to pick where the council gets to nudge, which direction it gets to go. And the reason I'm running is I feel that the residents could use more voices to be your brokers, to make sure that the council's making decisions on your behalf that are in your interest. Two key decisions that drove me to be here. One, the auto mall sign, when there's a decision to try to make it a bigger sign to support the auto mall, there was a large public outcry about that. It was too big, and especially the lighted LED signs that are there. It's not about advertising, it's about the fact that we're lighting up the night to be able to advertise it. We could have had a lower sign without the lid, it could have upgraded it. But I think we needed a better decision regarding that in serving residents' interests. And the primary one where you may have heard about it is when there was a vacancy on the council earlier this year. Rather than allow you to pick who was your representative for the remainder of the term, council chose to take it upon themselves to make a long-term appointment. That led me to start the Right to Vote initiative. In less than 2 months, we collected thousands upon thousands of signatures, qualifying it for the ballot, and the council, I believe, made a wise decision and just made it into law. Now, we're in a position, you can make a short-term appointment if the council needs to have a full council, but you're going to be guaranteed that representative is representing your interests because you get to choose. And there's more that I can do on the council in making sure that the council is an honest broker for residents, and that's why I'm running. Thanks.
Next, we have a question up here.
Sure.
Hi,
Mick. I'm Cathy Jarvis. I live here in Thousand Oaks, City of Thousand Oaks in Clubview. My question is, how do you feel that you can best represent people? How do you hear what they want to say, other than being voted for?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think really what it does, it comes with what's the perspective that you're coming onto the council to make those decisions for. If you're coming in because you're just focused on finance and just trying to make sure that all the parts work, you may lose the perspective that we're doing the people's business and that it needs to affect them in a positive way. So we want to have open space, not because we like open space, but because the people of the city want open space. We want to have a strong business community because the people of the city want to have a strong business community. So you want to be pro-business without being anti-resident. There gets to be a point where we're focusing on business and it's going to affect the residents negatively. I want a council that's going to consider the residents' interests a bit more on those very tough decisions. And I think we could use more of that on the council now.
Second question, right here.
Yes, my name is Dale Boss, and I'm from Stony Brook Association. If you're elected to the city council, you mentioned signage. Would you be willing to support the rule, which I believe is on the books now, about the signs that the shop owners put out in the greenbelt areas, which, you know, can proliferate, and pretty soon it looks like parts of the city that we don't want to look like?
Actually, it's very poignant that you bring this up right now. We at the Planning Commission just had a case in which a freeway fronting sign, the owner of the tenants wanted to have two, one's 18 square foot, one's 17 square foot sign facing the freeway. And we only allow 24 square foot, one sign, 24 square foot on that. The Planning Commission approved the sign over the staff's recommendation to deny it. And these are things in which there's standards where they've been specifically contemplated, well thought out, to make sure that we do not have a 101 freeway that proliferates with signs. But standards don't mean anything unless when it's time to actually implement them, we actually uphold them. And I voted against it. I actually urged the commission to follow the staff's recommendation to deny that request. But unfortunately, they didn't listen. My hope would be is we can shift that council focus just a little bit more and make sure that we can uphold those sign ordinances.
I'm talking more about the business owners who put the signs out, you know, just illegally.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about campaign signs.
No, oh no, this is, no, this is, yeah, I mean, what I was describing was the actual business sign that's on the sign. But it's over the entire sign ordinances that we have. The purpose of them is to allow for communication of what businesses need to the public without having visual clutter. And there's the balance that we're trying to strike. If we focus it on one way, we're going to lose what we're trying to protect for residents. So I would be in favor of trying to make sure we uphold that.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Our next speaker is Deborah Birenbaum.
Hi, I'm Debbie Birenbaum. I'm very happy to be here tonight. You're going to see.
Give me 1 second. Can everybody hear okay? Okay.
You're going to see some familiar faces. I think among the people that are running, we have 2 or 3 planning commissioners, 2 or 3 city council people, and Ed, where are you? Someone that's done it all. Hi, Ed. For newbies, for people that haven't been on a commission, on a council, on a board. I have to edit that just a little bit. But this is a great opportunity for you to get to know our values and where we stand on issues. I have lived here since 1961. I was 4 years old when my mom and dad moved out here. My dad was a dentist on the boulevard. There were 5,000 people living here. It was before the city was incorporated. My dad had patients who were pilots who would fly over the city and say it had some of the cleanest air in Southern California. And that's where he decided to move us. I went to Meadows. I was in the inaugural kindergarten class at Meadows Elementary School. Graduated in 1975, valedictorian from Newbury Park High School. Had a wonderful childhood here, fed cows at the end of our Old Meadows Street, Fremont Drive in Old Meadows. had birthday parties at Jungle Land. Have you all heard my Jungle Land story? I'm actually part of the history of Thousand Oaks. I'm on page 79. Al, you can start. I'm right between the clown and the monkey.
I can verify.
I continually
Where are you
love
at?
The history of this town. I just love our history. By running the junior docent program at the Stagecoach Inn Museum, we train children 8 to 18 to take visitors through the museum and pass on our history to people visiting our community. Among my other volunteer work is I've done PTA council membership. I've done Art of the Masters through the schools. This is my little edit on what I said before. I've sat twice on the Community Funding Review Committee with the city. So I have had some city connection. And I am an English tutor with the Literacy Center at Adult Education. I went to UCLA, got a BA in political science, and then on to UCLA Law School. I practiced law for a while, and when I got married in '84, my husband is William Carter. We, much like, where'd you go? Mick, we decided where we wanted to be, and I always loved this place so much I wanted to raise my own family here. Oh my goodness. I now work with Conejo Valley Unified School District. I work with I work in special education. I'm a paraprofessional. And I went back in 2009 to CSUN to get my certificate in mediation. I feel more than qualified to be able to go through the literature we'll have to read, to analyze it carefully, to make independent decisions, apply applicable law, and listen to the candidates. In the olden days, people used to sit at our city government used to sit at the Jan's Mall and be available for people to come and talk, and still does that. And that's the kind of leadership that I grew up with and would like to represent again. I'll join local, state, national, urban organizations to try to bring attention and resources to our community. I'd like to follow up with what Dennis Gillette started with the 23, try to get some of the congestion out of our city, and a senior center over in Newbury Park to take some of this pressure off the senior center in Bruno. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, well, we have a couple questions.
Uh-oh.
You're not getting away with that.
I spoke so fast and only people think of a question.
Let's see. You spoke very, well, let's see, I just have a couple of, what would be your greatest passion, would you like to accomplish in 4 years on the council? If you had any one thing that you really wanted to hone in on?
Having been a young person here and raising 3 children here, I know we have the teen center and we have a great youth commission, but working at the high school, there's some issues with the teens, and I would like to have more activities locally for the young adults in our community to be more positively involved with, and try to work with businesses in the community to do partnership for youth employment.
Anybody else have a question? Okay, well, thank you,
Oh.
Shirley.
Darn it, almost got away.
Shirley Richards. I understand Home Depot is not going to come here and going to try and sublease out a place. So if you had your druthers, what would you like to be where Kmart used to be?
You know, I
familiar
walked
with
that
that
neighborhood yesterday, and I had a really interesting experience with a woman that was 82, right behind that property. She could speak to people from other aspects and told me I was a really good soul. So it was interesting. But the residents behind that area seem to be upset that it's just laying fallow for so long. If I had my druthers, there's 2 things. In a dream, I would like to have some kind of activity center there If it was gonna stay retail, then I would like to see small local rather than a big box store. Some kind of small retail in that area. But it would have to be a feedback with the community. It was at Kmart. There was traffic there. There were people going in and out. There was a great wooden furniture store there that I used to like to get unfinished wood at. I know there's no going back to the way things used to be, but I think the city government, local business, and the community have to work together to resolve that vacancy. Yes. We're just going over.
I think we can, we have time, no time for another question right now. Do you mind? Well, you can certainly talk to Deborah after the meeting.
Well, just be real quick.
Okay, a yes or no?
The council often differs on their opinions. Sometimes it's 4-1, 3-2. I'm just wondering which 3 council members you most often would side with.
Yes, no. That's a really difficult question. It's one of the reasons I'm running. I don't like.
Please repeat the question.
Oh, okay. It was in the balance of power on the city council. Where would I fall? Basically, was that what it was? One of the reasons I'm running is because I think lately some very bad decisions have been done at the city council because the council people are more concerned with this power struggle on the board.
Yep.
And so, to answer you quite legitimately, I am unaligned with any of the present powers on the council. I would hope to be independent on my decision making.
I'm going to have to postpone it there. Good question. Thank you. Okay.
Our next speaker is Ed Jones.
Thanks.
I'm not quite as old as Debbie. I've just been here since '64.
You're a youngster.
And I brought a prompt. I'm very proud of this. This is the general plan. This is the plan that created a wonderful Conejo Valley.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that I'm one of the 5 council members that signed it. My wife told me to start out by saying I'm a political science professor. I don't know why that's a good thing to say, Joanne. Oh, I see. I also stand, I better behave myself. I'd like to begin by saluting 2 former mayors in the audience. I came in between them. I think in time of service, our oldest is Dick Hoos. Where is Dick? Right here. Dick Hoos. When I first got on the council, he started sending me notes about the way he wanted me to vote. He didn't want a big building right behind his house, over on Buckingham there. And Larry Horner, who just followed me, he was I want to make 4 points. This is the professor in me, I guess. Continuity, fiscal prudence, service, and harmony. Okay. I know how the planning got started because I helped start it here in Thousand Oaks as a member of the original master plan committee that held hearings for 2 years. And then I was on the city council, which held hearings for a year, and we finally adopted the plan. At the same time, we adopted the Hillside Ordinance. I think it was an amazing accomplishment. Not only strict guidelines for orderly development, but we conditioned development so that today, 40% of the Conejo Valley is in open space. Also, one cannot build on slopes of 25% or more. Let me say, the developers really dislike that idea of all the open space. But once we imposed it on a couple, who do you think helped us impose it on the rest? They didn't want to have to do that and not have anybody else. So I want to continue the tradition of quality development, maintain our rural atmosphere. In other words, I want to continue the tradition that I helped to start. Continuity. Second, fiscal prudence. I think we should live within our means. I want to find ways to economize, no extravagant programs, more partnerships with the school district and park district. And we have some wonderful partnerships, like the senior center, the teen center, where the city didn't have to go out and buy land. We let them use our land, and we share the responsibility for providing the staff. And that would provide economy of scale in purchasing. Not only that, I think we ought to bring the county in. The county should have increased income now that the redevelopment agencies have been eliminated. And I think we ought to get more financial participation here in the east end of the county, from the county. I was on the county board of supervisors for 12 years, and I should have a good shot, I think, at doing that. Fiscal prudence. 3, service. I believe in public service. I demonstrated this when on the city council and the Ventura County Board of Supervisors. I helped to start the paramedic program, the first public library in Newbury Park at Sequoia School. The kids told me at a rally they couldn't pedal their bicycles all the way to the main library. And so I phoned the head of the school district, and we got 2 modular buildings put in the parking lot there, and that was the Newbury Park Library for about 10 or 15 years. And I think that so the library, and I was on the committee that, the Hazardous Waste Committee that formed the hazmat service. Now on the park board, as a result of canvassing door to door and sitting on the Jan's Mall on Saturdays or the Oaks Mall, I compiled a list of 130 people who desired different improvements. And because of that, several of our parks have been made, am I out of time? Okay, just let me finish the last sentence. And we built finally the Dos Vientos playfield. And the 4th one was Harmony, and Debbie alluded to it. One of the things that I found out going door to door for the last 3 months is people don't like the squabbling on the city council. I think they're all good people. I would like to try to stress the commonality of our purpose and the quality of service to the public. I'd like to get us all pulling together.
John Fonte, and I live in Dos Vientos. Mr. Jones, I'm glad you mentioned about fiscal prudence, because it's sort of appropriate, I think, to talk about one issue tonight, and it's with regards to elections. There's been recent change in how elections are required to fill council vacancies, and it could cost us to $200,000 each. We've had 2 recent vacancies because of the health and death of these councilmen who were in their early 70s. With all due respect for you, who I believe is 81, 2-ish, how can you justify running for a 4-year seat with those potential costs to the taxpayers?
Well, you know, I think I'm in excellent health.
Yeah.
I believe that I have the stamina. I believe that I have the energy. I've been walking now since June. I'll probably go to 10,000 houses this year or more. I went to 8,500 2 years ago. I can't tell you how long I'm going to live. My mother lived to 95. That's pretty good. She was still driving a car. We shared the driving it to Tahoe when she was 90. So, yeah, I think I'm good for a couple more weeks. Anything else?
Any other questions?
My wife is counting on a long time. I don't know.
We might have,
Your question, still.
Oh, another
They won't leave you.
do you have any special ability or that you would bring to the council?
Well, I think, as I say, I think the heritage of knowing what the master plan intended for the council, for the city, I mean. I think the fact that I have worked with so many people, that I have the ability to get things done. I think the thing I'm most proud of is going out to the public and finding out what the need is, whether it's handicap access in now the park, whatever the case may be. I have the ability, I believe, to work together with other people. Let me give you, somebody mentioned Dos Vientos just now, the gentleman that asked the question. When I went on the board, that was language. You know, people had premium prices for some of their lots because they were supposed to get a playfield 10 years ago. And we had our first meetings, and I said, look, the developer is not going to come up with the whole amount of money. We're going to 3 months after one on the board. We reached an agreement with the developer. 2 months later, we broke ground. We're finishing the park. You ought to see it. It's magnificent. 28. 3 softball fields, 3 soccer fields, even the pickleball for old tennis players.
Oh, that's good.
Jones for Senate.
Our next speaker, I don't believe is here. Is it Marlon?
No, Vernon Williams is next.
Missing in action.
No, number 6, there's no number 5.
That's what I mean. Well, this one gentleman who didn't come. Marlon Delano Williams. But then Vern Williams would be next. There's 2 Williams, but I'm going to give the one I emailed.
There's only one here.
There's only one here.
That's right.
Exactly. Okay, you get 5 minutes to speak. Talk
Okay.
about yourself.
Well, I think Mick Farris said earlier, you know, we're usually when we do these kind of events, we get about 2 to 3 minutes to talk about ourselves, so you're kind of used to compacting it in. So, oh, I'm sorry. I said usually when we get these events, you get about 2 or 3 minutes in order to tell your life story. And tonight we have 5. So with 5, I'm going to have to start at birth. Okay, so just get prepared for this long story. I was actually born in Martinsville, Virginia. I was never born in a hospital. I was born at home in a 3-room log cabin back in the hills. We had no running water. We had no electricity. And the best thing that ever happened to us was that my father had asthma. Now, I know you think that's kind of mean to say, but that's the only reason I got out of there. We moved to West Texas where it was dry, never had asthma again, and we had indoor plumbing and we had electricity. So it worked out really well. So anyways, I went into the Navy. I spent 4 years in the Navy from 1965 to 1969. Loved every minute of it. It was great, but it really wasn't what I wanted to do with my entire life. But it got me the opportunity to go see a lot of places in this world. And what that taught me was this is the only place I want to be in the United States. I don't care about any other country I ever saw that I would care to go back to and live there. Vacation, yes, but I love this country. I love the state of California, and I love Thousand Oaks. I moved out here from West Texas because back in the 80s, things in West Texas went kind of south. The oil companies declared they had no oil, and the city I lived in depended pretty much on oil. So things got really tough, and we moved here. Actually, we moved into Encino at first because the person that my wife transferred out here for had an empty apartment over there, so we moved in. But it didn't take us very long to figure out we did not want to live in Encino. So we moved to Thousand Oaks shortly after that, and we've been here ever since. Been here 26 years. I've lived on Kelly Road in Newbury Park now for the last 14 years, and I love my little house. What I tell people is, I always wanted to live in a $500,000 home. I just didn't know it was going to be a 1,300 square footer on Kelly Road. But I got my wish, right? You know, they always say, be careful what you wish for. So anyway, I got my wish, and I'm happy there, and I love it there, and I love the city. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I really care about the city. I don't really see tremendous problems with our city. You know, we're not declaring bankruptcy or anything like that, but I do want to help keep our city a really good, vibrant city. Now, I've been married to my wife for 32 years, and she hates politics. Right now, she's out of town. It was really good timing, because with all I have to do with politics, she's not having to put up with me. So I sat home at night and I talked to myself and my dog. Dog doesn't listen either. So I have 4 children. I have one that lives about 2 blocks from me. I have one, and he's a small business owner in Newbury Park. He's in the racing business, and he and I go auto racing all around Southern California and sometimes in Nevada and Arizona, and we have a great time doing that. But he makes a living at it. And right now, being a small business, it's not really, really good. So it's really tough. So he's struggling some, but he does what he loves. And I always tried to preach to my kids to do the things you love and try to live your passion. And all of them have. I have a daughter who lives up near San Francisco. She's a black belt in karate because she was very passionate about karate. She was in, I don't know if you guys remember Mortal Kombat, the movie. She was in, she wasn't in the movie, but she did a live tour, Mortal Kombat, all over the United States and went to Argentina. I have a son who lives in Dallas, and he's a VP at a company. Very smart boy, always was. Hated him for that. But he was smarter than me, that was the problem. So anyway, now to get to just a little bit of why I want to run. People ask me that all the time, why do you want to run? The reason I want to run is because I live in Newbury Park, and we don't have anyone on the council currently from Newbury Park area. I felt a little bit unrepresented, so I decided to run, and it seems like we now have some other people from Newbury Park who are also running. Everybody that I've met so far seem like fine people, and no matter who you guys choose, I think you're going to wind up with a good person. So that's pretty much the reason I decided. Since then, I found others. If you look on every corner, I want all of you tomorrow, when you drive it around and the sun is up, look at all the for lease signs on our properties, on all of our commercial properties around the city, Newbury Park, Thousand Oaks, everywhere. You can't drive one block without seeing a big sign out front that says space for lease. Now, that in itself is bad, but what it represents is worse. Every one of those signs you see, someone lost their job. There used to be somebody leasing that space, and they were employed, and maybe they had 3 or 4 people that worked for them that were employed. They're not employed anymore. So I think that is our #1 issue right now that we need to take care of. It's a very urgent thing. So my red card just went up, so that's the end of that. So, any questions from anybody?
Cathy, you have a question?
Yeah, we'll have a question if somebody else has a question.
They're starting to get days out there now. 3,000 days.
What do you, question that the board, some of the questions we thought of, what do you see as a major responsibility responsibilities of the elected city council?
Well, I mean, the major responsibility of any city council is going to be to take care of the city and listen to its people. And I didn't mean to turn my back on you guys, but what I said was the major obligation of any city council is to take care of its city and represent its people. You have to listen to the people before you can represent them. That's the whole issue. Sometimes I think city councils, not on purpose, they get caught up in just dealing with everyday business, and they forget that they're actually there to represent the people who voted for them and put them in that office. So you got to be able to listen to those people somehow. And I've attended many city council meetings, and I've seen Mr. Quidwai and others come there and speak their mind to people who are sitting on the other side of the bench, and they don't look like they're paying attention. And that's one of the saddest things that I've seen when I went there. Now, they may be paying attention, but they don't indicate it to the person who's speaking.
Okay, thank you very much.
The next speaker is Al Adams.
Hi everyone, nice to see you all. Hey, we all are out walking. In fact, Jacqui and I crossed paths just the other day, and Ed, I'm surprised I haven't seen you out there. But, just a quick story. I went up to a house just recently. The front lawn was all overgrown. There were weeds growing out of it. Yeah, I'm going in, I'm talking to the guy. And it was an older man who listened to my story very patiently, and then he paused for a minute and he said, I'll tell you what, I'll vote for you if you mow my lawn. That's a true story. I said, no, I can't mow your lawn, but I do carry a lawnmower and an edger in my car now, just to pick up some extra votes. I've been around for a long time, 35 years. I built a successful financial services business. It took a lot of hard work, but at the same time, I strove to be involved in the community. I value children. I have two of myself. Kids are the backbone of our community. I got involved with the YMCA. I served on the board for 25 years. I'm happy to say that I was part of building 2 YMCAs here in town, and those YMCAs exist today, and they are teaching kids how to play basketball, they're teaching kids how to swim, and they're teaching kids to have healthy lives, and that's important to me. The arts brings the community together. Marilyn and I were the first people down to the Civic Arts Plaza back in the mid-90s when they were constructing. And how can we pitch in? What can we do? We made a significant donation, got that building built. I served on the board there for 10 years. I made sure that it wasn't just a place for the professional performers, but it was a place for the community and for children as well. And it's been that to this day since, and I made sure that that place stayed in the black for the 10 years I was there as well. I served on the Planning Commission for 4 years. I'm concerned about the quality of life here in Thousand Oaks. I like to think I'm a consensus builder. I'm a prepared guy. I made decisions about everything as small as a house remodel all the way up to the expansion of West Robley's Hospital. I had to bring the neighborhood and the community together to approve that expansion. I put together a master plan that the community bought into. We smoothed the way. We got the hospital built. As far as my issues, I have a lot of them, but I'd like to highlight just a few. Folks, we need to look at pension reform here in Thousand Oaks.
Yep.
Right now, employees, public employees in the city of Thousand Oaks do not contribute to their pension plan. The city pays that contribution for them. They can retire as early as 55, and their pension benefits are guaranteed for life. They also get health care benefits that are guaranteed for life. And right now, we are facing a $35 million gap in our pension liabilities, and we're facing a $13 million gap in our health care liabilities. And that gap could even grow because the whole thing is based on a 7.5% return that we're supposed to be getting from CalPERS for this. Last year we got 1%. So I'm afraid that gap's going to grow. Police department, we contract with the County of Ventura. Our police force costs have doubled since 2004. Why? Pensions. We got to take a look at that too. What's the cure? Employees need to contribute to their plans. Employees need to retire later, and employees cannot have guaranteed benefits. They have to be like the rest of us. Or else we're going to face cutbacks in essential service, police, fire, parks, teen centers. We've already run a $2 million deficit. It could happen. I want to be proactive before it does. I launched a term limits initiative. It's called Measure L. You know, I belong to the YMCA. After 3 years, the YMCA says, step down, take a break, clear your head, come back later, which a lot of us do. I belong to the Chamber of Commerce. 3 years you can serve on the board, then you have to step down. The federal government has term limits, the state has term limits, the county has term limits. Why not Thousand Oaks? My measure is very generous. You serve 3 terms or 12 years, you sit out a term, and then you can run again if you choose. It's not retroactive, it doesn't affect anybody on the current board, and it's not a lifetime ban. Finally, small business. We do have a lot of neglected, unused properties that need to be filled. The city has lost all its redevelopment funds. We need to be a lot more business friendly. We need to waive some fees to get these businesses started. We need to take a look at the small business tax that is an onerous tax on a lot of these businesses. And we need to have businesses be able to buy or sell to the city locally. We need to raise that preference. And as far as the person who brought up the Kmart site, I know both the attorneys that are representing Kmart. I can't wait to get on the council and do something with that site. The community has been looking at that site way too long. It's 10 years of blight. I know everybody around the community. I feel that I can be a coalition builder to get something built that the community wants on that site. Thank you.
Questions?
What would you do with a Kmart site?
Well, it's zoned for a neighborhood shopping center, and that's what was there originally. I know because I used to live across the street from it in those apartments. Neighborhood shopping center would be an anchor store with some smaller stores around it. I'm not sure it's a question of what I would do with it. I want to see what the community wants. I can already tell you there's been talk of propositions out there already for mixed use, which would be stores on the bottom, residences on the top. There's been talk about senior housing there, and there's been talk about a neighborhood shopping center. Again, if anything's going to be built there, it's going to have to be done with community support. That's the most important thing. That's what sunk the Home Depot. And so I think I could be a coalition builder and find out what the community wants and get something built there.
Other question? Another question? How about the lady in the back of the screen?
Hi, my name is Crystal Buell.
Hi.
And I'd like to comment on an Acorn article that was quoting the city manager, preparing us for city sales tax. One wondering your comments on city tax, if that's necessary, since we have a broken pension system, and since one city council member was quoted here recently as saying that the Lakes Shopping Center was never meant to be profitable. And what's your position on the city sales tax?
I don't want any
Or the city
taxes.
tax, yeah, no tax.
I'm not in favor of taxes, believe me, especially with the economy as weak as it is right now. That's the last thing we need. And, you know, as far as the lakes, that has been pretty controversial. But I think we need to step back and look at that a little bit closer and see if there's a way that we can make the lakes successful, and in the same time, and by doing so, bring up that profit level that the owner has, which is 12%, so the city can get a return on its investment. I think the city should get it's not the city, it's the taxpayer. The city is just, you know, it's an amorphous term. It's us. I think we do deserve a return on that investment. But to get it, I think we're going to have to put aside the acrimony about the lakes and try to work together to see if we can't make that center more successful.
I have one other question over here.
Yes.
The time up?
You had some business qualifications that you seem to bring to the table. What's your strongest asset do you feel that you bring to the table to be on the council?
Well, I am a senior financial advisor. I've been in the financial industry for 35 years. I know how investments work. I know what works and what doesn't. But I'll tell you what I think my strongest is preparation. I was on the Planning Commission for 4 years. I prided myself on being absolutely prepared when I came to those meetings. I owed it to the applicant. I owed it to my fellow planning commissioners, and I owed it to the citizens. So you can check with my wife. I spent many weekends reading piles of documents, but that was my duty. And I would do the same thing for City Council. I will be prepared, and I will be objective, and I will make sure that the applicant in front of me gets a due hearing.
Thank you.
I have to make sure I don't run out of time like Ed, so I have a timer right here. All right. Hi, my name is Jacqui Irwin, and I am running for my third term on the City Council. I'm married. I have 3 kids. My son goes to UC Irvine, my daughter's at Princeton, and my youngest son is currently a senior at Thousand Oaks High School. When I ran, initially I promised to bring civility and stability to the City Council, and when I look back, I have to say by any measurable means, we have achieved that on the Council. We have accomplished a lot over the last 8 years. And in Thousand Oaks, we have a very, very good story to tell. We're a safe city. We have a very high quality of life, and we've managed our finances well. And everybody here knows we're a safe city. We were ranked last year as the #4 safest city in the United States with a population over 100,000. And in spite of tough economic times, we haven't cut frontline public safety. We're very proud of that also. And I will continue to work with the police department on issues that are important to me, such as preventing underage drinking and the heroin issue that's currently affecting students at our school. I'm very proud to be endorsed by the sheriff, the district attorney, Greg Totten, and the former district attorney, Michael Bradbury. We have a great quality of life here. We have great schools. We have great businesses, Amgen, J.D. Power, Cirrus, Sage, BMW Works, and all these companies are located here because they like the quality of business here. We have great recreational opportunities. We have 44,000 acres of open space, and I'm very proud to be endorsed by Rory Skye, the chair of COSCA. And our great quality of life was recognized recently. We were listed as the #4 best place in the United States to raise children. One of our top priorities, according to our residents, was developing our downtown area, and after 20 years of effort, we finally did come up with a downtown specific plan, and the unique thing about it was that it was developed by the business owners, and then they worked with staff to come up with a plan that was acceptable to everybody. This plan sets the guidelines for a pedestrian-friendly downtown area, and contrary to what you heard, nobody on the council ever supported 6-story buildings on the boulevard. Over the years, we've collaborated with entities like the school district, the park district, and CLU to provide very high-quality opportunities for our residents. For example, Dennis and Gillette and I spearheaded the move to have a partnership between CRPD, CLU, and the city to build a second swimming pool on the CLU campus. And this has really been great. It not only allows thousands of kids to learn how to swim, it's also enabled CLU to host the men's Olympic team and activities such as Junior Olympics, which have brought thousands of kids, people into our community, spending the tax dollars here in Thousand Oaks. I want to talk a little bit about finances because we've heard so much about financial mismanagement at the state and federal level, and obviously a lot at the local level. By any measure, we are a fiscally conservative city. Our budget remains balanced. Our reserves are healthy. We've faced tremendous challenges over the last few years with sales tax revenues going down and the recession. And when sales tax dollars go down or expected revenues go down, we do what responsible cities and what the state should be doing, what the federal government should be doing. We cut our budget. And we have eliminated close to 100 positions. Very painful cuts. Those have affected real people, but we have managed to keep our budget balanced. And we have done that, unlike other cities, without digging into reserves or using gimmicks. We've had to learn to operate smarter and leaner, and our employees have had to do more with less. And it's also worth noting that in this economically difficult time, our bond rating has actually increased. Thousand Oaks has also resisted enhanced pensions. We don't allow spiking. Our pension obligations are sustainable, so we are in better shape than most cities. But we were very happy to see that the state has put in pension reform. And, that is going to save us over the long term, but we are also affected, as Al mentioned, by the county pension system. It is very important that the county, because our public safety costs end up costing us a significant portion of our budget. So we will continue to face these fiscal challenges head on. We will continue to be responsible in the way we face them. We'll continue to prioritize public safety, and we will continue to maintain our infrastructure. I'm very proud of the job we've done in Thousand Oaks, and I hope I have your support for a third term.
Any questions for Jacqui Irwin?
Gentlemen,
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor. I'm running for CRPD Board of Directors. I just had a question. You mentioned partnering with the Park District, City and the Park District. How can the City and the Park District work together to create jobs within the district and the revenue?
Have the City and the Park District, well,
well, for example, if the City and the Park District got together and said we have a plan for one of the empty buildings in the community, would you support the two agencies going to a local business, one of the ones that you mentioned, and saying, will you help us invest? Would that be something that you would support? Or?
It's actually, I mean, it isn't necessarily something that I have thought about the City and the Park District working together to create jobs. One of the things that was very unfortunate with the end of redevelopment is we had a family fun center plan for the area right next to Kohl's, and we were going to purchase that land from the school district. The school district was going to use that money to help with some of their priorities, and we were going to partner with a private business to build a bowling alley and other amenities that the residents had requested. Unfortunately, the land would have cost about $7 million, and the state has taken that money away. And so those jobs, I mean, there would have been some jobs created in something like that, but certainly we are always open to creative ways to increase employment.
John, you want to stand up?
John Fonte. I've been looking at the budget and also listened to you guys on the council recently when the finance director, John Adams, had mentioned that there is going to be, over the next 3 years, a structural operating deficit. And I'd like to ask the mayor, because what I see is these police department expenses, and we purchase services, in case some of the people here don't know, we purchase police services from the county. We do not have our own City of Thousand Oaks Police Department. What I've seen is that our costs now, which have doubled, like Aladdin has said, over the past 8 to 10 years, and are projected, according to Mr. Adams, to go even further. And looking at the City of Simi Valley's police department costs, which are going to be now less than what we contract with and pay for the county, I'd like to ask the mayor if she would support the establishment, or has even looked at the establishment of the City of Thousand Oaks separate police department, and how she could reconcile that with an endorsement from Jeff Dean. The City of Thousand Oaks is the largest client of.
That's a long question.
We did look at we look at contracting every 5 years or so, and when we compared our costs with the costs of Simi Valley, we were saving $6 million by contracting, because obviously there's a lot of overhead that is shared throughout the county. We continue to look every 5 years to see if it would make sense for us to run our own police department, but when you look at the trend in California, it is exactly the opposite. You have cities that are asking sheriff's departments to take over the contracts again. So it is unlikely that it would be less expensive to run our own police department. And the other thing is, I mean, the big cost for our police department is the county pension system. That is going to be under the new state reforms. They are not going, the county pension system, the Ventura Act did allow spiking, which is basically that any Ventura County employee would be able to roll in vacation time, uniform allowance, car allowance, and those type of things. And that is all ending now. And so the county is going to be in much better shape. They also do not have enhanced pensions. As a matter of fact, their pension level is less than the pension level of CME. So we continue to look at it. We are certainly we certainly are going to be responsible with the taxpayer dollars, but saving $6 million is a pretty easy answer.
Okay, thank you very much.
The next speaker is Raymond.
Sabrino.
Sorry.
Last but not least.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Raymond Sabrino. I am actually new to this political process. I decided to get into this because I've always had a passion for politics, going way back to when I was in the, I was actually like 7 or 8 years old when my father was always watching television and the news and all that, and I saw the president getting on a big plane, and I'm all, okay, well that looks like a cool thing, maybe I'll follow that someday. Anyway, yeah, right. But anyway, some of you may know me, some of you might say, who's this guy? You know, we've never heard of him, he's never sat on a committee, he's never been on a commission, but I have run a small business. I probably come and killed your ants, spiders, termites, rats. I'm very good at catching rats, and so forth. But anyway.
Then we need you at City Hall.
Well, okay, let's not go there. They're all nice people. You know, we should all be nice to each other. But anyway, the reason why I got into this race, and I had thought about it, I tried to get on different commissions and other planning things and so forth, but obviously I was shot down. But really got me into this was that the water rates in California, I'm running for governor now, right? The water rates in the Conejo Valley went up, and that wasn't right. I feel as someone that sits on the council, they should go ahead and negotiate with Cal American or any other water service that works with the council, because as we all know and has been brought up through the evening, is that we're in a tough recession. We're living day to day, we're living by a shoestring, whatever example you want to use. I feel that someone that has run a small business, if I were to raise prices, they would drop me like a hot potato. I feel that I can come to the table and tell people, you know what, because I have experience as far as dealing with homeowners associations, putting bids out, negotiating prices, telling people, you know what, we can do this, we can do that, and we can try to bring the water thing. That was the one passion I had to. And tell them, you know what, let's work so we can save money, at the same time help the consumer, help the resident, and go forward from there. The other thing that got me on this race too, Mr. Adams' term limits idea is a good idea, but I believe that if If you have a term limit, you have a term limit. You do your 2 terms, you do 4 and 4, 8 years, and you're out. I feel that we need to bring in new blood, new faces, new ideas, and new prospects to this community. My family moved here in 73, 74 from Long Beach, California, back when there was the Conejo Twin Theater. My father was actually the manager that opened the theater way back then. My mother fell in love with the community, obviously, like everyone has said, with the mountains and the scenery and everything like that. I feel, and then I've been through Conejo Unified School District, and I've been through Cal Lutheran. I got my degree in English. I was supposed to be a teacher, but obviously I stayed with the family business. I feel that I can give back to this community for someone that's been inbred here pretty much. I think that I can help with expertise in that sense, and I think that we can go ahead and continue to make it a great city. The mayor spoke about having the 4th safest city in America. I would like to see it #1 again. It was #1 back in 2000, 2001, and I think that if we can go ahead and concentrate on the safety in that, we can make this town and city, or not town anymore, but city strong again and safe again. And being that I'm the father of 2 little kids, I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. Well, actually, she's 15 months, but she has grown in attitude. I don't know where she got the attitude from. But anyway, and the 3-year-old and stuff, so anyway. But aside from all of that, I feel that I can give back to a community for my kids, and hopefully they could stay here, and for everyone else's kids, and for the older folks, their grandkids and so forth like that. I find this community very passionate. Like as I said, I was educated here, and I just love to be here, and it's time for, I think, my turn to help give back to everything that is given to me. And I feel that it can be a great place. Continue to be a great place. Aside from another thing too is that business owners, as myself, are feeling the push here, the pinch here with the economic recession. I believe that we go ahead and we help the local business community save money, whether it's with the license fees, the tax fees, whatever it is. They got to bring down the price to help bring back local businesses, to help give local jobs and so forth, and keep building the revenue in the city. If you come from outside the city and you want to do business here, then I think that there should be a little more of a surcharge for those coming outside. Those, I think we should give a better tax break and so forth for the local people that are helping build the city itself again also. Is that the timer? Because I didn't see a card or nothing. Okay, there's the card. Time for questions.
Any questions? We're going to have a question for you. Let's see. What would be your greatest passion? You mentioned the water break was what got you involved. Do you have any special abilities that you would bring to the council?
I have the ability, being part Hispanic, I have I'm fluent in Spanish. I can help with the lower income side that they're mostly the Hispanic there in the Newbury Park section. Being that I live in Newbury Park, I can help with that. And a lot of people will feel, you know what, we have someone that can understand this literally and figuratively, and I can help bring that to the community too. And if we have to negotiate anything for it, as far as Spanish speaking or whatever, I can bring that to the table and so forth.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to have just a quick 1-minute summation where each candidate gets to say a few closing words. And then you guys can split up and talk and do whatever. So just give a couple more minutes. And I think Al Adams is first.
Yes, thank you.
And you get a minute.
Just to be crystal clear about this pension business, the reform that was passed into law by Governor Brown affects only future employees, has nothing to do with the current employees. The benefits we will receive, we won't see for decades. And since we're not hiring any new employees, it could be even longer. That's something you ought to know. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. My family didn't have much money when we started. You know, I was the only kid who had to work his way through elementary school on my block. It's the truth. My father worked 2 jobs all the time I was growing up. My mother worked part-time when she was raising us. I inherited a very strong work ethic from my parents, and I will bring that to the city council. I will work hard for all of you. I will be prepared, and I will work hard. My parents are retired here in Thousand Oaks now. They're in their mid-80s. I have 2 children that are just entered Westlake High School. They're freshmen in high school. I have every incentive to make this a safe, secure, and prosperous community. That's what I would like to do. That's what I would like to do. I love this community. I'm getting the card. And I hope you all vote for me. Thank you.
Is Deborah.
Oh, I pulled 3. I'm glad that this was left up here. This is the general plan. When we went to a new candidates orientation, the city manager told us that Thousand Oaks is built out. It's built out, it's done. And then any increase in population would just be negligible. And I was thinking about that mindset. We've heard the involvement of a lot of the candidates in city government, of people that think that we are done, that we have built out. And so when I think of the people who were the creative pioneers of our city, when I have been told, thinking about the blight that runs pretty much from the Oaks Mall down to the Civic Arts Plaza, that's just the way it is. It's the economy. It's because we're linearly developed. We've got the freeway, the boulevard, and Hillcrest. I want to bring creative energy back to City Council. I don't want business as usual anymore. We can be like the pioneers that built our city. Thank you.
Bruno is next.
Yeah, just a few kind of wrap-up comments. We heard a lot about public safety. Clearly, the very #1 purpose of government is public safety. Public safety is costly. Okay, it's costly for 2 reasons. 1, there's a personnel cost. 2, there's the pension cost. The governor just signed AB 340 in the law, okay, which is going to require all new hires starting in 2013 to contribute 7% of the pension. Okay, a lot of work has to be done there, but the pension reform is not going to come bottom up. This is now a state law. We have to work within that law and look at efforts to mitigate some of the costs at the local level, but we can't just throw it out because the compensation we pay the police and our staff is a byproduct of a collective bargaining agreement which includes the compensation plus the pension. So we have to work diligently, but it's not that kind of a thing where we're just going to do pension reform. One last quick comment about the budget. We have a balanced budget, but it's gone from a surplus or income here, surplus there since 2007 to where it's sort of bisecting, and the expenses are starting to move ahead of the income to where 2013 will be a little bit upside down. Now is not the time to eliminate the business license tax, which brings in $1.9 million to the city. I'm not a fan of taxes like anybody else, but we can't have our cake and eat it too. We can't have public safety with the cost that it is, be the world's the state's safest city, and reduce our budget upside down, eliminate $1.9 million, because you can't do it both ways. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you.
Sabrino.
Well, again, in summation, I feel that I can bring a new energy, new strength, and new ideas to the council, and I can bring it down and say, I will listen to the resident. My motto out there is, have your voice heard. I will bring it to say that resident A wants this, resident B wants this, let's sit down, let's analyze it, let's figure it out, and let's see what they want, not just because, you know, we gotta get somewhere, we gotta do this and do that. Let's just listen to what people want, and that's what's gonna help continue to make this community and this city great. So I appreciate your vote, and hopefully I can get your vote.
I was talking so fast, I think I got everything in already. So I'm just going to say thank you so much for all of you being here and being engaged enough to make a good decision on who should be on the city council over the next few years. And thank you to everybody that's running. It's so great to have 9 people running, and even though we might see things a little bit differently, for the most part, everybody is very passionate about Thousand Oaks, and everybody really wants the same thing for the city. So I would like to stay on the city council. I think that I have affected a lot of positive change, and I want to make sure that we keep Thousand Oaks one of the best places in the world to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Jones?
Oh, I thought I was number 8.
Vern,
Oh,
I have Vern.
oh, Vern, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Sorry,
Vern is
yeah,
first.
Yeah,
What?
Mr. Williams?
It's okay.
You want to go first?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute, I want precision here. What is this, am I 4 or 8?
You're 4.
I think we ought to get the master of ceremonies to give her qualification.
Oh.
Anyway, we've had a long night. I'm proud to be here with so many talented candidates. I would be proud to serve with anybody here. I'd like to stress, by the way, if you're bragging about the city, I'd like to know the Connecticut Park Board is one of 3 park boards in the entire country that's up for vote of the best park board in the United States. Now, before I take too much credit, I've been on the board 2 years. As I say, I'd be proud to serve with anybody here tonight that's running. I think they're all a great group. I'd like to get back to the same spirit that when Dick Hoos and Larry and I had many years ago, one for all and all for one. I don't like to hear questions about factions. Let's all get together and do the city business for everyone.
First, let me apologize to all of you, because that 5 minutes I thought I had to stretch out, it went by so fast I didn't get a lot said what I should have said. There's a lot of things I agree with everybody here, and there's things that I disagree with. Yeah, we do need a teen place. We need things for our teens to do. We need something like a bowling alley. We need, I don't know, a miniature golf place. We need something for kids to do. And on the same token, we're starting to see more teen drugs and more teen crime. In my neighborhood, all of a sudden, we have a problem with kids. My neighbor across the street woke up one morning and found someone walking down the stairs and out the door. They'd spent the night in his upstairs room.
Oh.
And he found out who they were, and he, actually the kid came back because he left his keys there. And he was a 19-year-old kid. He came back asking for his keys so he could go home. And, they called the police and all, but he got soft and he didn't press any charges. The kid said he was out with his friends, couldn't remember how he wound up getting in his upstairs. So that's pretty scary. So, and we've had them patrolling around the neighborhood. So we need more public safety and something for these children to do. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you again for inviting us here to talk with voters before this very important choice. I want to also thank my wife and daughter for putting up with us. This is a very busy time, and I think all the families of all the candidates recognize that. So it's certainly great to have support to be able to pursue this. As I mentioned before, you're going to hear from all the candidates. We all agree with public safety. We want to be a safe city. We all want to preserve our open space. We all want to make sure we have a fiscally responsible city. Everybody's going to say that. And they're all easy decisions. The problem is there are going to be tough times where there are differences in opinions and the decisions are hard. And the question is, you can't have an initiative that makes sure that their decisions get done right in the future, you have to rely, every time that there's a hard decision, you have to rely on the council people you elect. And the question you need to ask in this very tough time for you, this is your decision, do you believe that the people on that council have your interests at heart when they're making those hard decisions? I want to support the residents and make sure there's a voice for them, so I'm asking for your vote so I can represent you. Thank you.
Okay, well, that about wraps it up for tonight. I appreciate everybody coming. I see a lot of new faces here, and you left your general plan thing up here. But I think it was a good evening. We finished right at 9 o'clock, right on time. Don't rush out. Sit around, stay around, talk with the candidates if you have any questions. Be sure to pick up their literature in the foyer. There's some other literature out there as well from other people that are running for different offices. They asked if they could speak, and I told them, unfortunately, they couldn't speak, but they could put their literature out there. So pick up what you need, and thank you again for coming. Have another good day.